To understand Malazan, there is the question of where to begin. Do you start with the events of Gardens of the Moon and run with it? Which character do you choose to focus on? Unlike Tolkien's book or Brandon Sanderson or even George R.R. Martin, where the books focus on a set of 3 to 5 main characters, Malazan books mostly focus on the larger picture, which involves seeing the story in very many different perspectives. I decided to start my journey in understanding this expansive world by starting with 2 of the characters that I consider to be the focal points of the entire Malazan narrative. Who am I talking about? Dancer and Kelanved, who in the main books go by the names Cotillion and Shadowthrone. Who was Dancer? Dancer was a trained assassin from a young age. He was an orphan who was taken in by an old stranger who recognized the talent in him to be an excellent potential assassin. When he got older and realized that he needed to test his skills, he left his hometown and wandered to different cities in the Kontali continent. When we meet Dancer, he is untested and has no prize to his name. In Dancer's Lament, he is portrayed as an independent figure with a lone-wolf mentality who is grudgingly looking for work. One thing you realize about Dancer is that he hates working for other people, where he is placed in a subservient role. This is probably the reason he was chased out of the many places he was before he ended up in Lihang. We first meet Dancer when he goes by the name Dorin. He was chasing a particularly vexing target who was very hard to catch. This target was a dull-horned youth going by the name of Wu. Their first real meeting occurred in a Jagger's cave. This Jaggert in particular was very curious about the 2 of them. He judged that they would be catalysts to certain changes in the continent. When I look back on this moment, I realize how limited the Jaggert's predictions were. If I look upon all the events that occur in the Malazan series, these 2 are definitely the starting piece in a dominoes lineup. After the Jaggert released them from his cave, Dorin followed Wu to Lihang. In that city, Dancer found work as a sort of thug for a criminal boss named Pang the Child Stealer. The reason for this is because he had children working for him in underground mines in the city. All these children were orphans or those cast out by their negligent parents. Dancer hated working for him. The constant threats and use of violence for control in the gang diminished the value he saw in working for the criminal organization. In a twist of fate, these children met Wu, who was imprisoned by Pang at the time as they thought that he was a fake mage. This of course was untrue, since we know Wu was an extremely competent mage. It was all part of his ruse in order to perform his research undisturbed. It is during these interactions that we first glimpse Kelanved's deceptive nature. Wu used his imprisonment to recruit the children, who it turns out were mostly talents. They were gifted in the use of different warrants, and Wu recognized this and knew that these children were rough diamonds ready for polishing. This ability that Wu had of recruiting local talent from the places he visited is the main reason he was able to expand the Malazan rule so wide before he was deposed as emperor. The relationship between Dorin and Wu started growing in those mines. This partnership eventually led them to deposing Pang and seizing his organization. There was fallout for this act because a close friend of Dorin who lived in Lihang was injured as part of Pang's revenge. This friend was called Ulura, and she was a talent of sorts. She had an affinity for birds of prey that she had kept and cared for. She lost her eyes as they were ripped out from her eye sockets under the orders of Pang. To Ulura, Dancer appeared aloof and deadly, just like an eagle. She was the one that gave Dorin his true name, Dancer. Before she lost her eye, she was able to witness Dancer's movements when he was practicing, and it seemed like he was dancing. During Dancer's time in Lihang, he was able to test his skills and sharpen them further. As fate would have it, Lihang was under siege by the forces of Itko Khan, led by their king, Chulalon III. The king being present meant his deadly forces were also with him. It was widely known by the larger continent that what made Itko Khan fearsome were its assassin organization dubbed the Nightblades of Khan. These Nightblade assassins in the excursions into the city were greatly reduced in number due to the deadly skill of Dancer. Every day, Dancer would scurry the rooftops at night and dispatched any Nightblade he found. It reached a point where the Nightblade assassins grew cold feet and their leader had to intervene. It's during one of Dancer's skirmishes with the assassins that the Nightblade's leader observed his skills. He recognizes the techniques he used as the same skills used by the legendary assassin Farouj of the old Talon hegemony. This is how we find out that the old man that trained Dancer from the age of 4 was a renowned killer of great skill. When I first read the Malazan books of the Fallen, I thought that in the past, when Cotillion was still mortal, that he must have been a talent of the Warren of either Russian or Shadow. It turns out that I was wrong. The guy became an ascendant by martial skill alone, which makes him even more impressive than I thought. Dancer eventually killed the Nightblade's leader, but he judged it was not enough a prize to raise his name. This is what led him to pick Chulalon III as his main target. He asked for Wu's help, and he was able to kill the king of Itkokan. He left a bird's talon on the king's body as a mark of his skill, and it's from that point that the talon becomes Dancer's sigil. Some of the children talents that Wu had recruited take up the talon sigil and became the first members of the Talon organization led by Dancer, which was kept a secret even from Lassine, or Sally, as she was known at the time. As for Wu, he was mostly engrossed into researching the Warren of Shadow during his stay in Lihang. This research into Shadow, where he allowed Dancer to accompany him, made them noticeable by the rulers of the city. Lihang during the time was ruled by a figure named the Protectress and her cabal of 5 mages who are named Silk, Hodhala, Koro, Mara, and Smoky. Kelanved and Dancer clashed with Silk, Ho, and Koro at various times, but they always escaped. Due to their activities in the city, Kelanved and Dancer were eventually exiled when they tried to depose the Protectress. For this first part, I wanted to focus on the events of Lihang. For my next part, I will talk about these two characters in relation to the events of Deadhouse Landing and Kelanved's Reach. What you need to keep in mind is that these two incredible individuals met by chance in Lihang. They formed a bond of friendship there, and from that bond, a flame was ignited, and it would grow to eventually cover 3 continents. Dorin Rav went into Lihang untested and without purpose, and he came out as Dancer, tested and with a partner to direct his blade. Thanks for watching. See you in part 2.